is time once more for us to don our aprons, sharpen our knives, and wash our rice for the newest installment of the Culinary Crucible, No Grain, No Gain. We've got 2 new carbs, 9 new recipes, and a whole lot of strategy to share. But if this is your first ever Culinary Crucible, or you just want a refresher on how the gameplay mechanics work, I highly recommend you check out my other guide pinned above, which goes over the event itself and the general strategies in detail. There's a lot of good information in there about how to spend your time, plan out your actions, and maximize your token yield, all of which is relevant to all events in the series, including this one. However, this video is only going to cover the recipes and farming strategies specific to No Grain, No Gain. So, if you want the full gastronomic experience, I recommend watching the master guide first, then coming back here for these deets. Now then, this crucible is going to function like all of the past ones with the gameplay loop of get food, cook food, score food. That said, what kind of food can we expect? Given that the theme this time centers around grains, our main ingredient is rice. So we'll be whipping up quite a few savory dishes, the first of which is Loco Moco, which is made from rice, lettuce, meat, and egg. We also have rice croquettes, made with rice, onion, cheese, and breadcrumbs. After that, we also have bihon soup, which is made from rice and prawns. We've also got cheese tteokbokki, crafted from rice, cheese, and spice. There's also masala dosa, which you can make with rice, spice, and beans. There's also a sweet treat on the list with another version of rice pudding made from the same ingredients of rice, milk, and sugar. Moving back into savory, we have katsujan, which you can make with rice, breadcrumbs, meat, and eggs. We've also got rice salad with rice, lettuce, bell peppers, and beans. And last but not least, we have paella made with rice, onion, bell pepper, prawn, and shellfish. All together, we've got a lovely spread of mouth-watering dishes that are starting to make me hungry. And they all seem to have a generous spread of ingredients throughout, with most of the recipes requiring 3 or 4 ingredients. But to figure out which ones we should be prioritizing, we'll need to consult the ever-glorious ingredient spread. As always, our last 2 locations will be locked behind a token requirement, so all recipes that require these ingredients will be off the table to start. That leaves 4 recipes for early token grinding, one of which looks really appealing. The more time that we can save, the better, so going after the recipe with the least amount of extra excursions is our goal, and because bihon soup only requires 2 ingredients and therefore 2 excursions, it seems like it would be the clear pick here. However, the mystery shop has a total of 4 ingredients in it, which means that drop rates are going to be really important specifically for this recipe. Because if the prawn drops are low, it would actually be more profitable for us to focus on a different recipe entirely, even if that recipe then required more excursions. If we look at the total number of recipes that require each ingredient in the mystery shop, the prawns and spice are equal, while the sugar and shellfish are lower. So in theory, we'll be getting more prawns and spice more often. But since the prawns and spice themselves are equal, the RNG is actually going to be what decides which of these we get in what quantities more often than not. So, if you're getting more prawns than spice, bihon soup is going to be your go-to recipe. But if you are getting more spice than prawns, your best bet is to instead prioritize the cheese tteokbokki. This is because the cheese drop rate in the ranch should be significantly higher than the milk, so you'll be able to craft the tteokbokki more than rice pudding. Paella can also seem appealing, but since the vegetable drop rates are equal in the botanical garden, and shellfish presumably have a lower drop rate themselves, you're really just going to be at the mercy of RNG for that recipe, so I would not advise. So, to start making bank, you're going to prioritize either the bihon soup or the cheese tteokbokki, with bihon soup being the priority if your drop rates are favorable. Once you've unlocked all the ingredients and can cook all of the dishes, your priorities shift slightly. If you've been crafting bihon soups, you'll likely have a lot of spices left over from those excursions. Even if you don't, the next best recipe to craft is going to be masala dosa. Prioritizing this recipe will let you make use of any extra ingredients you have from your previous grinding, and it gives you the most overlap with the other recipes requiring the latter ingredients from the windmill. Rice croquettes, katsudon, the rice salad will all need ingredients from this excursion, so you can stock up on these while crafting your masala dosas. And you can still make the bihon soup and cheese tteokbokki at the same time. At this point, you'll also be able to make the majority of the recipes that require vegetables, so the botanical garden excursion becomes viable as well. In my opinion, to make the most bank, though, you're going to want to consistently prioritize bihon soup, cheese tteokbokki, and masala dosa, using extra ingredients for rice pudding, croquettes, and katsudon, among other things. Now, once you have all of your tokens, you can use them to buy rewards, including one of the limited time cards. So let's see which chefs will be in the kitchen this go around. From Octavanel, we have Azul with a vice grip on that bag of rice. If you're a big Azul fan, this might be the card for you, but if not, then you might want to consider its stats before spending your tokens. Azul is a defense type card with a fire cosmic spell combo. The stats are pretty decent when maxed, and the spells aren't too bad either. The first spell, Flame Blast, comes with a bit of healing, which can be especially important for defense exams or for keeping your teams alive in event and main story battle maps. The Cosmic spell comes with Curse immunity as well, which will let either you or your allies heal that turn if they happened to be cursed, or can prevent the curse from happening to begin with. I personally think this is a fantastic pickup, but if this utility doesn't sway you, we also have Ortho Shroud from Ignihide cooking in the kitchen. All of Ortho's designs are just so fun, and his cooking gear is no exception. Ortho is a defense type card as well, believe it or not, which is a little unusual for these events because in my memory I feel like we normally have a defense and attack, but I'm not complaining. Ortho's got a slightly beefier HP stat, however he does have a slightly lower power stat in exchange, which is fine for a defense type card. For the spells, we have a fire-water combo with both eventually having power drains on foes. This can be really helpful in reducing the damage you take during battles, and given the HP stat, you'll likely be staying alive for quite a while. I like both of these characters quite a bit, but just looking at the card stats, I'd have to go with and recommend Azul. If you already have a bunch of healing cards, he might not be as appealing, but I think he's going to be much more useful in the coming days than Ortho will be. However, that is just my opinion, so do what you will with the information I've provided. And if you just can't decide on one, there is a limited time banner where both will be available. However, you will have to use your precious gems and keys to obtain these cards there. If you're going to go down this route to get both, I highly recommend summoning before using your shop key. Whoever you don't get from the showcase, you can then pick up from the shop, which will guarantee that you get both cards. Even if you don't care about either card, it can still be worth picking up one of them for free, as having either or both in your excursion party will get you bonus ingredients. It's not much, but it is still better than nothing. So try to get these cards as early as you can if you're planning on getting them at all. So now that we know which recipes to cook and who to pick, there isn't much else left to do besides play the event. But before you go, I want to briefly go over a couple of tips and general reminders that should help you reach culinary greatness. If you are an Android user, you will not receive excursion completion notifications or any twist notification if power saving mode is on, regardless of your device's notification settings or app notification settings. This is an Android OS issue as far as I'm aware, and it may have been resolved in some of the newer phones or in an update, but the phone that I currently have, as updated as it is, will still not push twist notifications if my power saving mode is on. So I highly recommend turning it off for the duration of this event specifically, because this event is so dependent on time. Speaking of, if you can do the shorter excursions more consistently, you can get more ingredients that way, so keep that in mind. And you can make use of the ingredient shop to get more tokens when you're in a pinch. Charcoaling, or failing a bunch of dishes, will help you at the very end of the event to get rid of all of your ingredients, because those ingredients will not transfer over. So try to get every last bit of token that you can. Also in this vein, tokens do not transfer between events, at least that's been the case in the past, so use all the tokens you can in the shop for the rewards you want before the shop closes and your tokens and the rewards are gone forever. And that's it. Go on out there and achieve your culinary dreams. As always, I would be so happy if you left a like or a comment or maybe even subscribed to let me know that you enjoyed this mini guide. And if you have any questions, I will do my best to answer them in the comments as well. But before you go for realsies this time, I would just like to remind you that you are amazing, and I hope you have a wonderful day.